Hello and welcome back to Order the Pie, the podcast where music, stories, and a little something in your glass all come together. I'm Christopher, and thanks again for joining us. Before we get into the songs today, there's one small piece of music theory that explains everything you're about to hear. Most pop songs are written in major keys, and there's a simple reason for that. Major keys feel resolved, they feel open, and they feel like the song knows where it's going, and that makes the listener comfortable. Even when lyrics are sad, the major key often feels hopeful, like there's a way out waiting somewhere ahead. Minor keys do the opposite. They feel tense and incomplete, like a sentence that ends without punctuation. And that's why we usually associate minor keys with sadness, not because they're slow, but because they withhold resolution. Pop music has traditionally followed a rule. If you want the song to feel happy, you put it in a major key. If you want it to feel sad, you slow it down and put it in a minor key. But the songs in this episode break that rule. They're in minor keys, and they move, they dance, they groove, and they sound confident on the surface. And that tension between forward motion and emotional unease is exactly why they worked. These aren't sad songs, they're unsettling songs. And once you hear that difference, you can't stop hearing it. What Painted Black reveals is how a minor key can keep a song emotionally unfinished, even when everything else keeps moving. Written and recorded by the Rolling Stones, it doesn't ease you in. There's no invitation. It charges forward immediately. When it arrived in 1966, it replaced what would have normally been a bright guitar hook with a droning sitar line that never lifts. Charlie Watts' rhythm doesn't swing or relax. It presses, it insists. There's no emotional release waiting in the chorus, and there's no moment where the song opens its arms. Instead, it moves like something's chasing you, and the public followed. Painted Black went on to be number one on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US and number one in the UK, making one of the darkest, most psychologically unsettling songs ever to top the charts on both sides of the Atlantic. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes. And that matters, because this wasn't fringe radio. This was mainstream pop, discovering that forward motion could distract you from the emotional darkness. A line of cars and they are painted black. You feel urgency first, only to later realize that there's no comfort underneath it. This isn't sadness slowed down, it's tension kept in motion. And once pop music learns this trick, it never forgets it. Venus by Shocking Blue walks in confident, sexy, and almost confrontational. From the very first second, it doesn't ask for permission. And that confidence paid off. By 1969, the song reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100, making Shocking Blue the first Dutch band ever to reach the top of American charts. This wasn't a novelty hit, it was a global pop record. It got us on a mountain top. Was burning like a silver flame. Now, something I want to point out here. The original lyrics were handwritten, and the word goddess was misspelled as godness. Mariska Varese, who wasn't fluent in English at the time, sang exactly what she read. It got us on a mountain top. They could have fixed it, but the first track was so good that they didn't. And from that point on, the song just commits. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't soften its edges. She's got it. Yeah, baby, she's got it. It moves forward with confidence, but there's always a slight tension underneath, like it's pushing against something you can't quite see. Well, I'm your Venus. I'm your fire at your desire. And that forward momentum is what makes the song work. It feels bold and self-assured, but never really relaxes. You're carried along by the groove, even as something in the background keeps pulling you back, because the song never fully settles after that. It stays bold and it stays tense. She's got it. Yeah, baby, she's got it. This isn't sadness at all. It's swagger with friction underneath. Well, I'm your Venus. I'm your fire at your desire. One last thing here, and it's just a personal observation. Venus opens with a fast percussive guitar strum with a clipped attack. When I think about the opening guitar run in Pinball Wizard by The Who, and then hear that same kind of rapid guitar figure in Venus by Shocking Blue, they sound remarkably similar to me. Both songs came out in 1969, just a few months apart from each other, with Pinball Wizard arriving first. Influenced or not, I don't know. Do you hear the same thing? But that idea, a song moving forward with confidence while something underneath never quite settles, shows up again in a very different place. Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees might be the most important song in this episode because it proves that minor keys don't just belong to rock, they also own the dance floor. When the Bee Gees wrote Stayin' Alive, they weren't trying to write a celebration. They were writing about survival, about staying upright in the city that never slows down. The title sounds triumphant, but it's defensive. It isn't about living it up, it's about getting through the night. When it hit back in 1977, it went straight to number one and became the backbone of Saturday Night Fever, a global phenomenon that turned disco into the center of popular culture. Now, what often gets missed is that the engine of this song is Maurice Gibb. Maurice was also a seriously underrated bass player, and he didn't just perform on Stayin' Alive, he helped build it from the ground up. That iconic bass line is his, and because the bass establishes the harmonic center, it's also very likely where the song's minor key was set. Maurice wasn't just holding the groove together, he was shaping the emotional foundation of the track. But listen to the lyrics: survival, pressure, anxiety. The verses sound cool and controlled, but the lyrics are asking for help, and the beat never stops long enough for you to notice. That's the trick. This isn't sadness you sit with, it's tension you walk through, a minor key moving at full stride. Good Times by Chic sounds like pure joy, and that's why it's the curveball. Underneath that iconic bass line is a minor key engine that never resolves. Good times. Nile Rodgers has said that the song is written during a moment when things didn't actually feel very good. Late 1970s New York was anxious, strained, and uncertain. Taken alongside Stayin' Alive, it becomes clear that disco wasn't always about escapism. It was also about endurance. Happy days are here again. The time is right for making friends. The joy wasn't pretending everything was fine. It was finding a way to keep moving anyway, even when you weren't sure how things were going to be. Come tomorrow, let's all do it again. When the song reached number one in 1979, it became one of the most influential tracks in pop history. Its influences cross genres almost immediately. John Deacon of Queen has said that the bass line for Another One Bites the Dust was inspired by Good Times, and that same bass line was recreated note for note for Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight, one of the records that introduced hip-hop to the mainstream. All of these songs sit in a minor key, and all of them let the bass line do the talking. Good Times, Another One Bites the Dust, and Rapper's Delight. None of these rush to the chorus either. They just keep walking forward. It's getting late. Time marches on. Just can't wait. Repetitive, restrained, unresolved. Different genres, same tension. Why does it loop so perfectly? Because it never truly lands. Happiness on the surface, unease underneath. And this is where minor keys stop sounding dark and start to sound cool. Don't be a drag, participate. Clamps on the half shell and roller skates, roller skates. Good time. Heart of Glass by Blondie doesn't emote, it glides. Detached, mechanical, and it still sounds cool. Blondie didn't come from disco. They came from the downtown New York punk and art scene, and that distance is audible. This is a dance song made by people who don't quite believe in the dance floor, but love a good groove. It's still firmly 4 on the floor, and that's not an accident. 4 on the floor means it's 4 solid bass drum beats driving the beat on the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, with a riding hi-hat holding the tension up on top. Blondie understood exactly what was happening in 1979, and they knew that they had to ride the disco wave without surrendering to it. They used the machinery of disco, the pulse, the repetition, the momentum, but kept an emotional distance from the culture around it. When it skyrocketed to number 1 in 1979, it helped pull new wave fully into the mainstream.
If I fear I'm losing you, it's just no good. You tease me like the devil.
Debbie Harry later described the song as intentionally cold, a track that refused to offer emotional warmth. The groove keeps you moving, but the harmony never hugs you back. This is minor key pop refined. Billie Jean is the blueprint for modern minor key pop, built on bass, repetition, and unease. When it hit in 1983, it went straight to number 1 for 7 weeks. Paranoia set to motion. Michael Jackson was obsessed with this song. During the Thriller sessions, there were suggestions to soften the bass line, add movement, and sweeten the arrangement for radio. Michael pushed back. He wanted the bass exposed, repetitive, and tense, because that tension was the point.
People always told me, be careful what you do. Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts.
There's another quiet influence here. Jackson later acknowledged that the feel for Billie Jean was inspired by I Can't Go For That, No Can Do by Hall and Oates. Not the melody, but the space surrounding it. I Can't Go For That sits in F minor, and it never feels like it's in a hurry to get anywhere. The bass is out front, the harmony barely moves, and nothing rushes to resolve. It just keeps coming back to the same idea until repetition does the convincing for it. Michael took the same minor key restraint and turned it inward. Where Hall and Oates sounds cool and detached, Billie Jean sounds more watched, cornered, and paranoid.
Billie Jean's not my love. She's just a girl.
The bass line does the emotional work. The beat never relaxes, the tension never releases. You dance, but your body never fully rests.
I'm the one, but the kid is not my son.
After Billie Jean and Good Times, minor key pop wasn't a risk. It was a standard. Tainted Love by Soft Cell doesn't build, it circles, fast, repetitive, and claustrophobic.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away.
What makes it especially perfect here is that it wasn't always this way. The original 1964 version by Gloria Jones is brighter, in a major key, soulful, and emotionally open. It pleads and it reaches outward. Soft Cell stripped all of that away. They pulled the song to a stark minor chord, slowed it down, and drained it of its warmth. And they did that deliberately.
For I toss and turn, I can't sleep at night.
Soft Cell weren't interested in updating a soul song. They were reframing it emotionally. Where the original asked for connection, this version keeps its distance. It's controlled, detached, and intentionally cold, reflecting the early 1980s club culture that it came out of.
Take my tears and that's not nearly all. Tainted love.
The arrangement barely develops, and that's the point. The song isn't trying to lead you anywhere, it just keeps circling.
Don't touch me, please. I cannot stand the way you tease. I love.
When it reached the US top 10 and went on to spend a record-breaking 43 weeks in the UK charts, that sense of entrapment became part of its power. We're comfortable with the slight tension and the drum machine repetition. The song doesn't move much, and it doesn't need to. For this episode, I wanted a drink that works the same way as these songs do. This week's cocktail is called the Venus. It's a riff on the classic Saturn. The Saturn is an unusually bright, citrus-forward tiki cocktail. I kept the structure but pulled back the sweetness and leaned into the spice. Same basic ingredients, but a different gravity. To make the Venus, add to a shaker 1 ounce of gin, half an ounce of passion fruit syrup, a quarter of an ounce of falernum. I like velvet falernum. Just a quarter ounce of orgeat. Add 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice and fill with ice, then shake briefly. Strain that into a chilled coupe and garnish with a lemon twist and a light dusting of nutmeg. It looks bright and it smells inviting, but it never fully settles. And normally you wouldn't use falernum with orgeat together like this, so I barely did, just enough to keep it from resolving. Did any of these songs give you a different feeling even if you couldn't quite place it? That's the pull of the minor key that never fully resolves. It isn't sadness, it's urgency and it lingers. And now that you hear it, you may start noticing it everywhere. Well, until next time, here's the loud riffs, quiet sips, and the stories in between.